What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Pardon My Pancreas podcast. I want to tell you a little story about how I managed to film and cram 10 workouts into a single day. Do you have any idea how long it takes to work out 10 times? I want to talk about how my blood sugars reacted too. Let's get into the theme song. I've spent the last 10 years pushing the limits while identifying trends and patterns in my type 1 diabetes management. Follow along as I learn, apply, and share the fitness, nutrition, and lifestyle strategies that I've learned from diabetes experts around the world. The real question is, how can we live fearlessly with diabetes while maintaining stable blood sugars? This podcast is here to give you the answer. My name is Matt Vandervecht, and with my co-host Ali Abdul Karim, we welcome you to Pardon My Pancreas. All right, so let's dig into the story, right? For a while now, I've been planning to film workouts for my Warriors Tribe members. I wanted to make sure that they have instructionals because some of the exercises I do aren't so straightforward, right? The terms might be a little bit confusing, so I was like, I gotta make these instructionals. And so for a while I put it off. I was a little bit hesitant. I wanted them to be perfect, and that's one of my shortfalls, is that I am a perfectionist, and it's something that I battle every single day. It's difficult. Like, let's be real. Anyone who struggles with perfectionism, you want things to go right, and you want to put your best foot forward. It's difficult to put anything less than perfect out there, but I realized that I needed to push it out. So first step, I started filming content, right? I filmed the workouts. I loved it. If it went great, I went to upload it, and because of the whole coronavirus thing, everyone's using their internet right now. The internet was too slow for me to upload videos. I was like, great. How am I going to get this to my people, right? And so step two, I tried uploading through mobile data, I tried different Wi-Fi's, and just nothing was working. I tried for weeks. It was so frustrating. Now, of course, there are other options, and I thought of one. I said, you know what? What if I split up each exercise and I upload little tiny snippets at a time, and then I can put them together in the editing software? I was like, all right, and this is getting kind of like technical now. I'm going to slow that part of the story down, but essentially I figured out a way to do it, right? And what I would have to do, since I only had one day with a good background and good lighting, I needed to make sure I got all the workouts filmed in a single day. So I set out to do something that was a little bit nerve-wracking, and that is to film 10 workouts in a single day. Do you know how long it takes to work out? Usually I work out for like 45 minutes-ish, right? Like, that's a long time. We're looking at 10 hours-ish, right? 9, 10, something like that, of filming, of working out. And if we look at exercise in general, right, even a single hour can lead to some not so nice blood sugars, let's just say that. It could get frustrating. And so I'm looking at it like, that's 10 times what I would normally do. That's a lot, right? If you see a drop from a single workout, can you imagine what 10 would look like? So I thought back for a second. I was like, all right, what strategies can I implement to keep my blood sugars stable during these 10 workouts? Like, this is a lot. It's something I've never done before. I've never worked out 10 times in a row. I think the most I've done in my life is 3. And that was in college. So different time of life. But I looked at it and go, okay, I want to make sure my target blood sugar looking solid, right? I don't want to start my workout at 90 if I'm going to work out 10 times in a row. So starting blood sugar, let's make sure that looks good. Which it did. Thank God. It started off about 155, I think, maybe closer to 160. I said, you know what? This is perfect. I'm doing a lot of activity. Got some space. I got a little bit of a buffer, right? Now, step two is going to be insulin on board. What's my insulin on board look like? The more insulin you have on board, the more at risk you are for fluctuations, especially drops, right? It's just another variable that I don't want to deal with. Step three that went through my head is, when was my last meal? Do I have fats or proteins that are going to cause it to rise? Was it all fast carbs and now there's nothing left to keep me stable? I'm going to drop, right? Different levels of macronutrients are going to have different effects down the road. Step number 4 of however many steps there are for this one is, what kind of exercise am I doing? I knew that I was doing strength-based exercises, but it was going to be relatively consistent since I was just trying to get it done, right? One after another after another. It's almost like a HIIT circuit. Relatively intense exercises, back to back to back to back, because I needed to film and get it all done before I left that location. So I was like, okay, there's a lot to think about. And there were a few other strategies in my head, right, where if my blood sugars weren't perfect, I could have a little bit of a snack beforehand. I could reduce my basal. If I was MDI, I could reduce basal the night before. If I'm on a pump, I could reduce my basal maybe 45 minutes before I started. If you're on the tandem pump with Control IQ, you could set the exercise mode in, right? There's a lot of different strategies we can use depending on what insulin therapies we're using. But for this example, I was cruising, I had 0 insulin on board, I had a nice balanced meal for breakfast, so I was looking good going into the workout, didn't have too much to worry about, but then I still thought about it, like, 10 workouts, are you kidding me? How am I gonna work out 10 times in a row and not die? Like, diabetes aside, that is a difficult task, right? So I had to think it through, and like, is there another way for me to do this? So I thought back to a time when I was a child, a youngling, and something that my parents used to tell me. My mom and my dad had this great phrase, and it was, work smarter, not harder, right? Work smarter, not harder. I'm like, okay, if I don't want to work hard, then I have to work smart. So how am I going to work smarter with 10 workouts? How's this going to work? And then it hit me, right? I had this option where, because the workouts, I had to film 10 of them, there were a few similar exercises throughout. I could film one of those exercises, chop it up, and use it throughout the other workouts. In other words, if I'm doing push-ups on day 1, day 4, and day 9, I don't have to film that 3 times. I film push-ups once, and then use the same footage for 3 days, right? So all of a sudden I was like, wait a second, there's hope. If I work smarter, not harder, there's a way for me to reduce my workload, not have to do 10 full workouts, and I'm gonna actually be able to get this done. You know, not have to worry about like this supercharged insulin sensitivity over the next couple of days, and the reducing my blood sugar in the current day and all this kind of stuff. Instead, all of a sudden, it was no longer a 9 or a 10-hour day, it was maybe a 2-hour day. If I just looked at what exercises repeated, I could get more done. And you know, the example from my childhood comes from this. One of the best, most clear memories I have of that phrase being used by my parents is I'd be doing some yard work out in the front yard when I was growing up, right? And I'd be chopping plants with like, what do you call it, clippers? And when I was chopping them, I'd chop a plant, like chop a branch off, and I'd walk 20 feet over to the trash can, drop in the trash can, walk 20 feet back, chop another branch off, walk 20 feet to the trash can, and so on. Just back and forth, back and forth. My dad comes out halfway through, he's like, Matt, what are you doing? What's going on? And I'm like, well, I'm doing what you told me to do. Like, you told me to chop the plants, like trim the bush or the hedge or whatever it was, and throw the plants away. And he's like, Matt, come on, work smarter, not harder. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, bring the trash can to you, silly. No more walking 20 feet each direction for every single branch. You can cut your work like in quarters, whatever it is. I don't know, significantly shorter time, because now instead of walking back and forth for every branch, I could bring the trash can to me. So now he simplified the process for me and made me realize I can work smarter, not harder. I can save time. I can save energy if I just work smarter and think out through what are the single steps I need to take. What is the minimum viable path that I can use to get the same job done? Now, this is not saying to find shortcuts to lessen the quality of your work by any means, but if you can find a way to simplify the path, that is where working smarter, not harder, comes into play. Simplifying the process, right? So it got me thinking with the exercises, right? I can simplify the process by filming the same workout only once instead of 3 different times. All of a sudden, I'm working a third of the total time. I'm not working 9 hours, I'm working 3, right? Now I'm able to achieve my goal faster. Now I don't have to worry about blood sugar fluctuations as often. Now I don't have to worry about so many other variables. I have less content I need to upload for the internet, right? Like, there's so many benefits to working smarter and not harder. And guys, this is where the trending journal comes into play, where it shows you the simplified process. It shows you the easiest possible route, the minimum viable path that you can take to figure out what's going on in your blood sugars. So if I were to, let's say, experiment with an exercise, and it was just one workout, right? If I wanted to figure out what that exercise was doing to me, I would document my blood sugars, my meal, my insulin on board, like all this stuff is in the trending journal, which I think you can see it behind me right there. I might have to pull it up at the end of this video. For you listeners, it's the trending health journal. You'll have to go to the website to check it out. But the trending health journal, it shows you exactly what you need to document to find your minimum viable path, to figure out what you're trying to get at, to identify the trends and patterns in your blood sugar management. And all of a sudden, it's simplified. All of a sudden, you're working smarter and not harder. You're not spending months trying to figure out what exercise is doing to you and just confusion and frustration. All of a sudden, you're able to document the few things that you need to document. It maps it out for you, and you can visibly see where things went wrong or where things went right. And that is the power of working smarter, not harder, and using the trending health journal that we put out for you guys to identify your trends and patterns in blood sugar management. So guys, if you want to grab the trending health journal, it's my tool. It's what I use personally. It's also what I've created for the diabetic community. Go to trendinghealthjournal.com, grab your copy, and there's a bunch of sweet bonuses that come with it as well. But I want you guys to think about, what can you simplify in your life? Now, of course, first thing in my head is diabetes management, right? What can I do to make diabetes easier? First step, test your blood sugars and find your trends and patterns. Identify where your blood sugars are going a little bit haywire. Figure out what you can do proactively, right, to fix it for the next day. And if you don't know what to do, check the journal. In the journal, the Trending Health Journal, I've got an intro section on fitness and meal times and diabetes management, tips and tricks. So you can look into that and say, okay, this is what I need to look for, right? During exercise, this type of exercise causes me to drop. Oh, look, it did. It did cause me to drop. And all of a sudden, you're isolating variables that you didn't even know existed, and it's putting you towards that path of success where you're able to simplify the process, spend less time in frustration and more time just kind of cruising, right? So if you're looking to work smarter and not harder, I want you guys to check out the Trending Health Journal at trendinghealthjournal.com. I guarantee you it is the best single tool that I have used in identifying my own trends and patterns. It's what I use when I experiment with my blood sugars with different diets, different exercises, different sleeping schedules. When I switch from pump to MDI and MDI to pump, that is what I use hands down every single time, because it helps me map out my journey and simplify the process. It shortens that learning curve from months and months and months of frustration into a few days to a few weeks, help you identify what's going on so you can make that shift and work smarter and not harder. So identify what you want to work on today. If it is in the diabetes realm, I highly suggest you go grab the Trending Health Journal at trendinghealthjournal.com, and let me know in the comments if you're watching the video. If you're on the podcast, you should totally leave us a review on the Apple Podcast. That would be so cool. But if you're in the YouTube or anywhere else, drop a comment. Let me know what you're working on. Let me know what you're trying to simplify. Let me know how you are working smarter and not harder. I love reading those comments, and I look forward to seeing them. Guys, have an awesome day. Go grab the Trending Health Journal at trendinghealthjournal.com. Stay safe and keep up the fight.